Comfortably one of the worst films I've seen in quite a while, although it's not as bad as the 2025 War of the Worlds film, but still. Disclosure Day is so by the numbers, so unimaginative and utterly unoriginal, as well as being an absolute chore to sit through. And to make matters worse, the more the film tries to take its subject matter and events seriously, the more unintentionally humorous it becomes. The main cut and thrust of the movie is that aliens have been visiting us and the government has been covering it up. Wow, very original. I've seen this kind of story a billion times before, and that's one thing, but the execution of it is just awful. So basically there's two main characters, Margaret, played by Emily Blunt, and Daniel, played by Josh O'Connor. And Daniel is on the run from a secret government agency called Wardex because he's stolen evidence of government cover-ups about alien contact going back decades. And Margaret is a TV weather presenter, meteorologist, who starts speaking in this alien language, and Wardex recognizes this and tries to find her. And this all happens when she gets a visit from a little bird one day. For no reason, this causes her to develop these psychic powers. She can now understand languages that she previously didn't understand, and she can read people's minds. So that's one of the themes of the film is empathy. The aliens see empathy as the highest evolutionary achievement for a species. And in order for a species to thrive in the cosmos, they have to embrace a high degree of empathy, basically. It's very Hollywood schmaltzy, feels over reals, It's just a little bit too close to love conquers all, that kind of trope, So anyway, Colin Firth plays the main bad guy, and he's chasing down Daniel. And look, these are all good actors, but they're really not utilized very well. This main bad guy, this villain, he's just not written well at all. He's such a one-dimensional character. He's a walking bad guy cliche, and he's just doing bad guy things because the plot requires it. There's also some alien mind-reading tech in there as well. So anyway, some of the Wardex personnel conveniently go rogue, and they help Daniel and Margaret. Also because Margaret's psychic abilities develop to such a degree that she can influence people, and she establishes this remote link to Daniel. Long story short, they find out that they were both abducted by aliens as kids and experimented on, and that's how they have these powers. I mean, it's such a non-revelation. I mean, you can see that kind of thing coming a million miles away. I mean, it's so obvious that that's where they were going to go with it. It's so obvious that that was going to be the big reveal. I mean, it was either going to be that, or they were some kind of alien-human hybrids maybe, right? But instead, they were simply abducted as kids and they got powers. Because reasons. And they've been visited throughout their lives by animals, but these animals were actually aliens in disguise. And that's where it becomes a bit storybook and fairy tale schmaltz, which I knew it was going to be from the trailers. So it's all a bit cartoonish. And I think I would have been more forgiving of this film if it was just a simple low-budget streaming B-movie or a 90-minute TV pilot, because the blandness and predictability of it all would be kind of understandable. You'd forgive it a little bit. You wouldn't judge it too harshly, perhaps. But this film is being marketed and heralded as this kind of important cultural event. And that's why it's hard to give it a pass. You've seen this kind of alien conspiracy story done far better in other movies and X-Files episodes. But I think, not to go on a rant here, but I'm going to go on a rant anyway, the fundamental issue with this film being released today is that, unlike Close Encounters of the Third Kind or War of the Worlds 2005, two far better Spielberg movies about alien visitation than this, is that we now live in a time of great cynicism and skepticism. Because of the internet, social media, smartphones, and just because of, we're getting to a stage where major news events are far easier to question the legitimacy of. And there's scenes in this film in particular at the end with the live broadcast of the big disclosure where the whole world is watching TV. And everyone is just slack-jawed at this big moment of extraterrestrial disclosure. And I don't buy it. I don't buy that people would react that way. And I said this before when the trailers were released. It's just not how people react anymore. In real life, you'd get a range of different reactions, and some people would believe it and be shocked, and a considerable amount of people would think it's a hoax, fake AI video, some kind of psyop. I mean, look at the reaction to something like Artemis 2 recently. Now, I'm not trying to start a debate about that, but the point is, a lot of people believed it was real and some people didn't, and a lot of people are simply at a stage where they don't care, right? It was a mission to the moon, and the apathy was quite evident out there, I think. And again, lots of people cared very much, but to a considerable portion of people, it was just another event to scroll past in their social media feed. And I think the way in which we consume media today on our devices and through social media cheapens things, you know? And with social media and smartphones, and the immediate access we have to information and the speed with which we consume it, scrolling through our news feeds, everything gets reduced to short bursts of novelty, dopamine, and then cognitive fatigue, and then eventually the big current thing in the news cycle, which we're supposed to care about more than anything else, kind of just fades away, and then it's replaced by the next current thing. Whether it's a scandal or some big political conflict or catastrophe, the means by which news media is consumed, it all feels very disposable. It all just becomes noise and content, and then the news cycle moves on to something else, and it feels like a hamster wheel, and it makes it very difficult to care, to the point where you get numb to all of the pomp and hysteria about a story. And so the audience watching TV at the end of this movie, they're supposed to be stand-ins for us, you and me, the audience watching the film. And yet, I find it now hard to relate to them because they're not reacting to the news the way I would. Not to soapbox about the state of the world at the moment, but I get the impression people are really focused on just getting by, just paying the bills. And it's increasingly hard to make people care about things unless it directly affects their quality of life in a measurable way. Everything else just feels like a distraction, entertainment, and more content to consume. And maybe I'm misjudging the mood, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that given the fact that almost anything can be faked or contrived in the news media, especially now with AI, a lot of people would dismiss this disclosure broadcast as some kind of hoax, cynical ratings grabber, a psychological operation to create panic and crisis and then institute some kind of censorship or martial law or authoritarianism, or they'd write it off as a government plot to distract from some other very real scandal happening at the time. Put it this way, if anything like this ever happens in the real world, like this big disclosure event where they disclose aliens, I'm one of those people who won't be buying it. I mean, it used to be that you were a conspiracy theorist if you believed that the government was covering up aliens. And I think we're getting to a point now where you're now a conspiracy theorist if you don't believe the government is covering up aliens. But yeah, by the end of the movie, this idea that, you know, we'll get the truth out by going to the media and broadcasting it on television because everyone trusts TV, right? Yeah, given the understandable skepticism in real life, that would never be accepted by the masses in the way that it is in this film. Maybe a few decades ago, but not now. It's a very unsatisfying end. It's a very unsatisfying film in general. And quite honestly, I don't think it's worth watching. Those are my thoughts on Disclosure Day. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.